Near-death experiences. Something in life that I think is one of the most valuable lessons to learn. And if you haven't experienced one of these yet, some people may say consider yourself lucky, but I don't know if I agree with that. So, what do I mean by near death experience? Well, hard to say because it could come from any number of things. I assume it could come from a dangerous accident or whatever, but for the point of what I'm trying to say, I think the best illustration of it is being diagnosed with a serious health scare. I think any sort of diagnosis with cancer where it requires a lengthy treatment process is a great example of this. And I think that in this day and age, we've never been more prone to distraction. I don't think there's ever been a period in human history where there are more distractions. I think boredom is honestly a thing of the past because anytime anybody gets bored, they just pull out their phone and look at whatever. In addition, we're constantly worried about goals in the future and career and family and any number of things that at the end of the day are trivia. But one day that could all change. And one day you may go to the doctor, get a checkup, and realize that you have a problem that needs to be addressed. Maybe the doctor tells you you have cancer. Maybe the doctor tells you that what you have has been kind of advanced and requires a lengthy treatment process, or at the very least, some sort of an invasive process. And in these moments, I think, are some of the most valuable lessons to be learned. Because as many times as you can be distracted, as many times as you can think about any number of things that really don't matter, when your health and mortality are questioned and at risk, there are no more distractions. There are no more wishes. There are no more outside desires. Only one thing matters. And in these moments, you realize how little control you actually have over your mortality. You realize how little control you have over really most things and how much of an illusion control has been. And in these moments of helplessness, of powerlessness, of feeling and thinking like this may be the time where the doctor looks at you and says, this may not get better. You better prepare yourself. In these moments, you will find out exactly what is important to you. Going along the same lines of thinking as there are no atheists in foxholes, a famous saying from the Vietnam War, there are no distractions that can keep you from feeling the regret of what you haven't done, what you have done, whatever it is for you that creates these powerful emotions. And in these moments, those will overcome you. And it's in these moments where you find out what has truly been important to you. What you have chosen to ignore, chosen to put aside, chosen to not see, in lieu of what at the time you deemed was important. But once you realize there is no health, nothing else matters. Of course, the famous saying, a healthy person has 1,000 wishes, a sick person has one. But sometimes these are simple scares, and a bit of treatment is required, and you're able to continue living as you were before. Now, I think that in this crossroads is where some people's lives diverge. I think that some people choose to do better and some people choose to do worse. And I spent some time thinking about this. And I truly believe it's the way in which you react to that powerful emotion, to that lack of control, to what your regrets were that truly defines the next step. I feel like once somebody gets diagnosed with a serious illness, experiences that scare of thinking they're going to die, of feeling all of those regrets of how they've chosen to spend their time and prioritize things, I think it goes one of three ways. I think that some people are so relieved by the fact that this particular thing is not going to kill them that they slowly or quickly, depending on the person, return to the previous state of distraction and they find their old priorities and continue on. And yes, they may have a refreshed sense of what was important to them to an extent, but very little action is taken. They simply fall back into their old habits and more or less live with their head buried beneath the sand to the greater issue. Not to say that that's a bad thing, but you're essentially postponing the inevitable because, of course, that day will come for all of us where it just won't get better. Now, I think the second way that people tend to respond to this is that they develop a sort of superiority complex. They think that they're tougher than death. They think they outlasted death. They think they're better than death. And as such, develop a sense of arrogance. And I have seen this personally, and I don't understand how you could. I really don't. I don't think there's any more humbling experience on this earth than realizing how small and fleeting life really is. Any of us could go at any moment, anything natural or unnatural. And yet some of us are fortunate enough to have lived decades without any serious issues. I don't understand how you could develop a sense of arrogance with this and somehow become worse of a person than something before. But again, like I said, I have seen this happen. I'm not going to throw out any specific examples, but I have seen this happen, and it's mind-boggling. I don't understand it. I don't. But the third way to handle this, and what I think is the most constructive, is not to distract yourself from that feeling. And it is an uncomfortable feeling. It's not easy to do. I understand. It's very scary and it's very defeating and it leaves you with an incredible sense of powerlessness. But it's the truth. It's the objective truth. All of us are going to die. We don't know when. And we don't get to choose when. I don't think that it's healthy to live life ignorant to that fact and trying to ignore that fact. Rather, I actually think it's healthy to think about that on a daily basis. Because in remembering how that felt and accepting it, not being scared of it, accepting it, you can rearrange your priorities to align with whatever it is that you felt in those moments. And in doing so, for whatever time it is you have left, be it a little or a lot, you will find a much deeper sense of fulfillment in whatever that may be. Whether it's your interpersonal relationships, whether it's a certain career goal, whether it's taking more chances, whether it's completely pivoting and trying something new that you've always wanted. There are any number of options, whatever it is to you that came up during that particularly scary time is something to respect and acknowledge. And I think in doing so, you'll find a tremendous sense of peace and fulfillment. I think that accepting the lack of control you have when it comes to death is actually pretty liberating. Because if you really think about why it's scary, it's only scary because we simply can't comprehend what happens during that process and afterwards. Mainly afterwards. And although it's painful to see loved ones go through it, we don't know what it actually feels like. And from the outside, it doesn't look particularly comfortable. But it's unavoidable. And in all honesty, if you get to that point, you're probably pretty lucky. You've probably lived a long life. You've probably seen and done a lot of things. And you probably have a lot of people who respect you or love you or are happy that you exist or are better having known you, and in doing so, you've lived quite a fulfilling life. But some people maybe aren't that lucky. Some people maybe it happens sooner. But regardless, I think that it pays a lot of respect to those who have not made it so far. I think it pays a lot of respect to the people who you have maybe perhaps affected by a misaligned priority. I think it pays respect to those that have come before and have gone to their graves with regret. And it may be a slightly unpopular opinion, but I truly believe that in acknowledging our deaths on a daily day basis, we can live a much more fulfilling life and sort of right some wrongs and correct some mistakes that are inherent to human nature. I really do. So, if there's anything you can take away from this, I have been affected by death by many people that have been close to me. And I've also seen a lot of people that are close to me have these near death experiences. And because of my borderline autistic hyper empathy, I'm able to sort of internalize a lot of these lessons. And because of that, I've realigned my priorities, especially over the last 10 years, and have found a lot more fulfillment in the life that I live. And I continue to acknowledge that the best that I can on a daily basis. And rather than being ignorant and scared of it, I merely accept that part of which I cannot control and understand that the time I have left is a gift. And every day I wake up, although some days are better than others, I do my best to remain grateful and be happy that I'm alive and happy that I can continue to do the things that I do. And it also gives me perspective and more of a sense of purpose on how I can align myself in the future, knowing that at some point it'll all be over and very little of it will matter other than my sense of satisfaction with how I've led my life. So I hope that there's something you can take from that. I really wish that more people understood this lesson. I think that everybody's relationships would be better. I think there'd be a greater sense of love in the world, but all I can do is control my attitude and my response to things. So, yeah, I hope any of this helps. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below. Look forward to hearing from everybody and probably all 4 of you that will watch this. So, yeah, take care, guys. We'll talk to you soon.